guys, welcome to Tea with Mike, episode 30. Super excited that Joe's joining me on today's show. Today's tea fact is 416,000 tons of tea are exported from Kenya every single year. They're the biggest exporter of tea in the world, and this fact comes from FineDiningLovers.com. So welcome to the show, Joe.
Thanks, Mike.
So let's start with, what's your favorite type of tea?
My favorite type of tea. Right now, I'm digging lemon and ginger because I only drink tea at night. I'm a coffee drinker in the morning.
Why do you think you only drink tea at night?
I think it's mostly so that I don't snack. It's like what I'll do, like when I'm feeling snacky, then I'll sit and have a cup of tea instead.
Awesome. So why don't you tell the Tea with Mike audience a little bit about all the fun and creative things that you get up to on a daily basis?
All the fun and creative things I get up to. Okay, so I'm Joe Phillips. Online, I'm known as Joe Out Loud. I'm also co-founder and chief operating officer of Joe Social Media. So that means basically that I run our business. Joe Whitbread is my partner, and he's the creative force behind our business and the face that everybody knows and the voice that everybody knows. When it comes to me as a person, social media is my business, but it's because I like business, not because I love social media. When it comes to me as a person, I'm passionate about supporting the LGBTQ community, very, very much involved in that. Also, mental health issues and empowering women and girls. That's where my passions lie. And then I'm like a Bon Jovi freak fan. Everybody knows that about me.
Awesome. So how did you, let's start with, how did you get started and kind of know that you wanted to get into the world of business?
How did I get started in the world of business? I haven't worked for somebody else since I was 23 years old. So I actually quit working in order to have kids. And I was a stay-at-home mom for about 8 years. And when I was in a bad marriage and I knew that I needed to get out, but I didn't want to go work for somebody else. It just doesn't jive with me. I don't understand why you would work for somebody else. I think it's safer to work for myself. So I became a personal trainer and I opened a gym. So that wasn't my first foray into business. I actually opened like 2 or 3 small businesses with my sister before that, but that was my first big business. And then that failed epically, like epic failure. And then we started our social media business. So working for somebody else, I don't get it. I don't get why people would do that.
So you mentioned that at the beginning, some of the businesses failed. What did you kind of learn from those failures?
Oh, so much. So my first business, and this is hilarious, but my first business was with my sister, and I think probably 26 years old. We decided, and it was before social media, which is so crazy. But we decided we were going to do this social gathering group for women. I lived in Innisfail at the time. And so we were just going to do these day trips for women. And we called it Just Us Gals Social Club. And when you think of the acronym for that, it was actually like we were doing a newspaper ad and we spelled it out and it said Jugs. And we were like, but it was too late because we'd already done all of this advertising. So our first business was called Jugs and it was for women. And it just kind of petered out because my sister had another baby. So that was my first one. What we learned with that one was we had no profit model. Like we just broke even on everything. So we learned on that one. My next business after that was called Creative Crates Canada, again with my sister and again before social media. And the concept was that we would pre-package kids' room decorations and then people could just order them through Kijiji or eBay. What we learned from that was that a website actually needs exposure in order to work. So, you can't just make a website and hope that people will find you. And then so we just did like all these little things like that. And then, yeah, my gym was my big business, the big one that started everything. With that business, I learned so much. Like, I can't even explain in a single interview how much I learned from that business, because there's a lot of success and, again, a lot of failure. So, yeah.
Awesome. He's good. So during your experiences from owning some businesses and learning from them and stuff, and then the transition into the current business that you're a huge part of, how has social media developed over time?
So social media is really interesting to me because my degree is actually in psychology, and my minor was in sociology. And for anyone taking that degree, not really easy to get a job with that stuff. And yet, when social media came along, then it made so much sense to me, because all it is the study of behavior, and when it comes to business, it's how to get people to do things. Sorry, I am the one that manipulates people from a business perspective. But it was really, really fascinating to me. When I built my gym, I started the gym in 2009, which was at the very beginning of Facebook and the very beginning of Twitter. Instagram didn't exist yet. And so I had no marketing budget. So I used Facebook and Twitter to build it. So I had and very successfully in that sense. So when my gym closed, I knew I had to do something else. I was divorced. I had 3 kids. We were brutally poor. I had to declare bankruptcy, and I had lost everything. We're living in a bad neighborhood, all of that stuff. So I knew I had to do something. And so I sat down with Joe Whitbread. We actually sat on the Ross Street patio the first year it was open. And I said, I think social media for business is going to be a thing. I think that businesses are going to need somebody to help them. And he was like, well, yeah, whatever you think, I'm in on. And so we started our business that was in July, and in November he quit his job and joined full time, and we never looked back after that. So that was in 2012.
That's crazy how you took a risk at a time of uncertainty.
It's in my nature. It's very frustrating. Like, Joe, as my partner, gets really frustrated with it because I'm like, grow, take a chance. And he's like, whoa. Let's think about this for a minute. So it's a good partnership. But I am very much a risk taker. Like, if I see it, why not go for it? Somebody else is going to if you don't. So.
And then, so that kind of transitions into the question. So how do you turn a defeat into a new opportunity for yourself?
The first thing you have to do is you have to do the work. You have to do what I call a post-mortem. So you have to take a look at how it failed. You have to take a look at your successes, but you also have to take a look at how it failed. And you have to own your part of it. That's the hardest part, is owning your part of the failure and the defeat. And also to not make it about yourself, because failure is not a personal failing. Like, you don't get anywhere if you don't try. So in the defeat, if you make it about yourself, then of course you're never going to try again. So I think that is a really big part of it, but doing the work to get through it so that you can be successful after.
Who have been some people that have had the biggest kind of influence on you through tough times and also good times?
Oh, well, my life hasn't been really smooth sailing. So I would say my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Rensink, I always give him a shout out, because he was an anchor in a storm for me. I very easily could have gone off the rails without a teacher like him. And same with my basketball coach, Mrs. Leslie, same thing when I was in high school. As far as like when my utter defeat, I mean, like when my gym closed, I was like, honestly, I was suicidal. I was battling a lot of things. And this lady, she was virtually a stranger, but she had gone to my gym. And one day I just posted on Facebook and said, like, I'm really struggling. This is where I'm at. And she sent me a message that said, you have an awesome laugh. I can't wait to hear you laugh again. And so her name was Leanne, and this is a virtual stranger, and yet she literally saved my life with a message. So her for sure. And then I have my core friends, a lady named Janice, one of my besties, Nikki, Andrea, and of course my partner, Joe, hugely influential.
Awesome. So what do you think are some of the challenges, but yet, and also opportunities for businesses and the use of social media and other forms of advertising in the next few years?
Oh, opportunities. The TikTok. Like TikTok is just going crazy. So if somebody's just going to jump into something, I would say like that's the one to jump into.
So do you recommend that I should get TikTok? I don't have TikTok.
Oh, for sure, you should. For sure. Have you even looked at it? Have you taken a look?
People have shown me videos that are on TikTok, yes.
I would freaking love watching you on TikTok because, yeah, you're just awesome. For sure. Yes, TikTok. Skip Snapchat. Go to TikTok. We actually are seeing, because we speak in schools all the time, and what we're seeing is actually a slower uptake of Snapchat and Instagram in the younger grades and a higher uptake of TikTok.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting because we always follow the kids, right? So whatever the kids are doing is what comes next. So I would say that. But from a social media perspective, for businesses, we always advise, like, choose one and do that one well. Don't try and do a whole bunch. Don't cross-post. Don't do all of those things. Just choose one, own that audience. It doesn't matter which one it is because there's an audience on all of them. Just choose one and do it really well.
Awesome. Nice. So you mentioned that you're an advocate for the LGBTQ community.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the awesome community work that you do in all of your spare time?
In all of my spare time. I have so much spare time. I have 3 kids, and they're all teenagers, 17, 16, and 14. And I have 3 stepkids, and they're 21, 20, and 17. So I don't have a lot of free time. 2 of my kids are queer, and they're out. They're open about it. And so the thing that happens when your kids come out to you is, before that happens, you go about the world and you're very supportive and you're very, like, this is, everyone can just love who they love. But when your kids come out, then you're suddenly aware of how dangerous the world is for gay kids, for queer kids, that there are a lot of challenging circumstances for them. And so I'm definitely an advocate for safety, for change, for realizing that they're just people, and that love is love and all of that stuff. And it's because I don't want to worry about my kids when they move out and what they're going to be treated, how they're going to be treated. So I do that. I also, like I said, my passion is in empowering women and girls. So I do public speaking along those lines. I do workshops. I moderate panels and do things along those lines. That's absolutely where my influence is and where I want it to be.
That's awesome. If the people that know you, and I guess also the people that don't know you, if you had to kind of describe yourselves in a sentence or a few words, how would you describe yourself?
Aware of the energy I bring into the room.
Where are the? That's pretty good. What is your social media bio say again?
My social media bio, it depends on which one it is. My Joe Out Loud one or my
Joe Out Loud.
My Joe Out Loud. I think it says something about it's a Bon Jovi quote. I'm not going to be just a face in the crowd. You're going to hear my voice when I shout it out loud. That's where Joe Out Loud comes from. And again, I keep going back to Bon Jovi, but that's my calling card phrase.
Have you ever met Bon Jovi?
No. I want him to want to meet me.
Oh.
Yeah. So I won't pay for VIP tickets. I won't do any of that stuff because I want to live a life that's noticeable enough that John Bon Jovi wants to meet me.
I'm gonna tag him in the video. Just
Awesome.
That's actually. How do you think That's really cool. That's really good. What do you think has led you to believing in that type of like perspective versus paying for like just a VIP ticket to ticket off the list?
I think like by just ticking it off the list with a VIP, it's just a handshake. And with almost anyone who's ever talked to me about Bon Jovi, they know, like, I always say, like, I just want to sit down and talk business with the guy. Like, they're legends and they're still selling out arenas and there's a ton of business behind that. And I just want to sit down, plus the philanthropy and the causes that he supports and all of that stuff. So a handshake's not enough. Like, that's not the bucket list. The bucket list is a business conversation with John Bon Jovi that I've earned.
So on that note, do you have a bucket list, or do you think it's just, or do you have things that you just think are going to come through your own creation?
Oh, I'm very focused. Every morning I get up in the morning. I read this book. I sound so ridiculous, I know, but John Bon Jovi was asked what his most influential book was, and he said The Monk Who Drove a Ferrari. So I read it, and it actually changed my life. And so the tenets in it, there were 10 different pieces of what you should do in your life. And so I started incorporating them. So I get up in the morning at 5:30 now, which anyone who knew me 10 years ago would be floored. So I get up in the morning, I do yoga, I meditate, and then I do growth learning. And so I have this really cool journal, and so I'm very focused. I absolutely have a bucket list. I also have an intentions of what I want my life to look like. I have all sorts of all of that stuff because I think it's really easy to get lost in the day-to-day, and it's such a short life, and I think that it's not meant to be lived in the suburbs doing the same thing every day. So I am very, very much aware of that stuff. Yeah.
And then how do you, are you a visual thinker? Do you have like lots of big mind maps and colors, or do you have a notebook with a list?
So much color. I wish I could show you it. I don't have it with me. It's with felt pens. Like yesterday I ran out, so yesterday I went and bought more Crayola. Like, I'm a 44-year-old who buys Crayola. Yeah, and I was so psyched this morning. Right now I'm doing learning. It's a leadership book that I'm doing right now. So this morning my growth learning was about leadership. Yeah, it's very colorful. I do a lot of stuff with color. I'm very visual.
That's awesome. And then to reverse the page, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do. Boy, do I. Okay. So what program did you just finish?
Media and Communications at Red Deer College.
Right. And how you and I have talked a little bit about your job search. How's that going?
It's going okay. Like my resume and skills are getting to like interview stage, and then so I'm just kind of waiting on somebody to hand me that next opportunity, essentially.